Michelle Eccles McLaughlin. I'm a past president of the Muni Board of Managers and a current board member. And we wanted to give you kind of an insight into some of our committees for the Muni Board, and hopefully you'll want to join one of our committees. So the first committee that we're kind of previewing here today is our Diversity and Inclusion Committee. And Anna and Reggie are both our co-chairs for that committee. So both of you were directors for our supposed to be directors for our 2020 season, which didn't happen thanks to COVID. But what was remarkable about that season is that we did find some things that were something that we needed to work on, but something that just kind of came to be because of all the things that were happening in the world and some of the things that we were seeing because as directors, you were seeing it as you were trying to plan things for your shows. So tell me, how did the Diversity and Inclusion Committee kind of come to be during this time?
The origin story of the Muni Diversity and Inclusion and Equity Board really arose from the directors sitting down and having a conversation about what our vision was for the season. We didn't want a season that seemed like it was limited to just one type of person, one style or look or just the same thing over and over again. When we think about family, which is the theme for the year, the season, Muni family, we have a lot of blended families. We have a lot of families that don't look like traditional nuclear families. And we wanted to highlight the togetherness in the differences that we share. Not a melting pot, but a true salad, so to speak. So when we sat down and thought about it, we also reflected on just our past and what we could do to make sure that everyone felt welcome. And from there, we realized that we had work as an organization to do. And we took the time, really thought about things and started asking questions. And some of those questions were hard. Some of those questions still don't have answers, but we're working on them. And I think that's been the beauty of it, is that everyone that is a part of this board really wants to see some type of really positive change happen, not just for the people who frequent the Muni all the time, but for people who want to be involved, but maybe feel a little apprehensive or aren't familiar, but really want to feel a part of a community and just open ourselves up to the different voices that are in our community.
And Anna, what do you see as the goal of this committee? Reggie kind of touched on some of those things, but as you guys have kind of worked through it, what are some of the goals?
Well, like Reggie said, you know, we as a directing staff, like all four of our staffs for the season, you know, we started out just kind of brainstorming things that we wanted to see as far as reaching other groups, you know, widening our diversity as far as our audition pool is considered. And these became bigger and loftier goals that we just couldn't accomplish in one season with our four staffs. So thanks to Greg Jonathan, he proposed that we actually create an official Muni Board committee for diversity, inclusion, and equity. And really one of the main things that we saw that was lacking was just an overall diversity, inclusion, and equity statement from the Muni Board. You know, things, you know, how we felt as an organization, you know, what we needed to see as far as change is concerned for just the Muni in general. So a couple of our goals over time, we're working on some initiatives to have better access to arts and like I said, diversifying our auditionees, our volunteers, our audience members, and really trying to spread community theater and access to communities where it's not currently available. So like I said, we're working on some grant writing and you know, access to transportation to the Muni, and partnering with some of our other local organizations as far as like offering, like I said, transportation and tickets for seeing some of our shows. Reggie, what ones am I missing?
We also want to make sure that we're not just offering opportunities for them to see the shows, because we do certainly want people to be able to value and get something out of theater, but we also want them to be able to see themselves, to be able to see their neighbors and people who look like them, people who relate to them, people who don't look like them and don't necessarily relate to them. So with that, we're also working on creating workshops for other organizations, specifically in the educational ages. We're also working on seeing, like Anna said, we're working on partnering with other organizations, not just to bring them to the theater and to have them watch a show, but also maybe even create opportunities for them and their platforms to be heard. We're really trying to advocate and equalize the platform and the leverage that we have so that we can create an environment that really creates bridges and communities and shares resources.
Yeah. I would think one of the difficult areas for any theater group is making sure that you're able to offer the opportunities to have roles for people of all races, colors, backgrounds. How do you do that with some of the historical plays and musicals that are out there, and find the right mix, but also balance that budget aspect of bringing in folks to the theater?
Sure. One of the things that we have really been hearing from a lot of different people is just when we talk about historical pieces, the importance of looking beyond just one lens. We're actually set to take a workshop and learn a little bit about decolonizing theater. And one of the goals that we have is to not just make colorblind casting a thing, because we want people to be able to have the depth of race, ethnicity, socioeconomic background, all of those things that make color a character or be important to a character. We want those to be there. But if it can translate to where it isn't a hindrance, or it doesn't distract or take away from those characters or that arc in the storyline, then we meet and we talk about that. I think part of the reason why we formed this board is just to create a lens that sees people in a more detailed view. And sometimes that means having the discussion, what would this role look like if this person were a little bit older? What would this role look like if this person were Latino or Black, or if white, whatever the case. But we want to make sure that the discussion is had for the sake of the conversation, not just because it needs to happen, but because we're able to diversify the stories and also allow ourselves to relate to people on a level that we may not have before.
What about outreach? When we talk about filling some of the roles that we may have available, or even putting people in seats to see the shows, what is our approach, or what have you guys kind of come up with as far as better outreach to our community?
Yeah, for one thing, one of the things that we're really looking into, not necessarily related to your question, but what we're really looking into is just some anti-racism training just for the board, for our volunteers, for our staff members, to make sure that we are identifying areas that need some improvement. But like you said, as far as outreach for our different volunteers and for our different committees, we're really trying to not just reach those that have frequented the Muni on a yearly basis, but looking to partner with different sororities, fraternities in the area. You know, we have a lot of opportunity that like tons of people in our community who haven't been to the Muni before. And so we're attempting to reach a larger audience by doing interviews such as this, where we can say, you know, this committee really needs some assistance as far as, you know, volunteer outreach, or maybe we need, you know, like we have other committees like capital development. And so that's why we're doing these interviews in hopes to spread awareness of different communities that are available at the Muni, to cast a wider net and to get more people involved.
Who do we have on our committee right now, and are there folks that we're still looking for to join the committee and to help with what we're trying to do?
Certainly. Well, of course, we have past Muni folks who have been involved. And we do have a wide, I would like to say a wide mix of people as far as age and even race, but we are looking to, I don't want to say expand for the sake of expansion. We don't want anyone to feel like they're just filling a gap, but we really are striving to not only educate ourselves, but to also communicate a perspective that hasn't been taught before or hasn't been considered before. We have educators, we have students, we have business managers, PR people. It isn't just about race here. It's about really trying to break down and make accessible this wonderful thing that is theater. Another way that we're reaching out to people is just by having conversation. I think that's been what has been really propelling us into the call of action and really reaching out and saying, hey, we gotta get some new blood in here. We have to not only have the people who have been before us, because they have a legacy, they have the history, they have the know-how, but we also need new people to help us in this new age that we're in. We're dealing with a pandemic and fighting loneliness, for a lack of a better word. So it takes all kinds. We need the old and the young. We need people who are rich to equalize their platform, and we need poor people to really like also relate and let us know when we're not actually using our resources to the best of our ability. It takes all kinds, especially when we consider that we want to make sure that no one is left behind in this endeavor. We want to make sure that people who have different capabilities, whether those are neurological or physical, we want to make sure that they're there too, and that their needs are being considered. One of the things that we've also strove for in the past was making sure that we had sensory sensitivity nights for those who may have autism or other neurotypical capabilities and needs. So just taking those things into consideration is important. And I think that the education behind all of this is been worth it, because that gets passed along to the community, to the organization, and then personally as well. And we really start to open up the conversation.
And then one thing I know that for a lot of folks, when they want to get involved in a committee, they're like, oh, that's going to take too much time. Or so what kind of time commitment are we talking about to be part of the Diversity and Inclusion and Equity Committee?
We meet about once a month, currently virtually, for about an hour and a half, sometimes a little bit longer, just when discussion really gets going, which I love those meetings. But so usually an hour and a half to 2 hours. We haven't, we're anticipating obviously partaking in, like I said, some anti-racism trainings. So, you know, obviously there might be some time like on the weekend here or there when we are able to meet in person again. And then hopefully as some of these initiatives take off, then we might have some more commitment when we're actually back doing shows again, doing some volunteer work. If we do get some like transportation and bus programs going to and from Muni, there would maybe be some additional commitment then, but currently just about an hour or two once a month.
Anything you guys would like to add in addition to what we've already talked about regarding this committee?
Go for it.
I would just to say, you know, we do, like Anna said, we meet once a month, and our time commitment per se is fairly low, but this process is an ongoing one because there's so much, like we're unlearning, we're relearning, and then learning about communicating with each other as well. So that is an ongoing process, but at the same time, it's so beneficial in so many other areas. So I really do think that it's something that a lot of people could use and relate to, but also we want to make sure that whoever is involved or whoever wants to be involved, that you understand that this is something that is kind of serious. There may be times where it gets a little bit difficult just because we're challenging belief systems, we're challenging ways from before, but that's okay. That's part of the process. So if you're interested, if any of this sounds enticing at all, whether you're an organization and you believe that you would want to partner with us, or you're a single individual and you want to be more open to the idea of being more diverse and having more equity and leveraging your platform, please join us. We'd love to have you.
I'll say we've had some great conversations, and new people have joined the committee just within the past few months, especially with you know, protests and everything that have been going on around the country, and more discussion happening. We've had lots of people inquire and be interested. So please, if this is a topic that you are interested in creating these opportunities in our local theater community, we want you. Truly, like Reggie said, we are open and welcoming to all thoughts and discussions and members. So you can reach out to either one of us. Both of us are on social media.
We'll have a spot on the Muni website that you can go to. You can also respond on the Muni Facebook page, and we'll get in touch with you if you're interested in joining this committee. Thank you to you both for taking time today to talk about the Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity Committee. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.